Greetings, everybody, and welcome to Tri-State Trice for July the 2nd. We're excited to have with us 2006 Monroe City High School graduate, pole vaulting superstar, not only at Monroe City High School, but All-American, 5 times over at University of Missouri, and one of the Missouri Tiger Athlete of the Decade, Brian Hancock, who is now coaching track and field, no surprise, at Columbia Battle. Also teaching geometry and doing a lot of wonderful things. And first, Brian, I know the career both at the high school and college level was phenomenal. Were you at all surprised that track kind of ended up being the career field, well, in a teaching, coaching standpoint as well?
I think when we start with the track, I'm being from Monroe City. Growing up, football was my direction. I wanted to be a football player. I joked that I wanted to be the quarterback like Ryan Watson. That was what I always told people growing up. About middle school, I kind of found my passion in pole vault and quickly realized it's something that I could kind of stand out in. And I fell in love with it. And from then on, I kind of took that direction. And the really cool thing was actually being connected with pole vault at the high school level. Gave me a chance to interact with a lot of middle school kids as far as teaching and showing them how to develop in the pole vault, and that kind of got me started in my passion for teaching as well.
You were at the forefront of that great pole vault dynasty, and obviously, I mean, you can't mention Dennis Hancock and not have everybody who follows pole vaulting in the history of the state of Missouri know exactly who you were talking about. Just how proud are you of that entire family legacy that kind of evolved and then spread beyond the family?
Well, yeah, no, it's definitely something I'm very proud of, and I think it was just a testament to the determination, the focus, and the drive that my dad had, because he instilled that in every one of us as pole vaulters. With me starting out, it was something that we were kind of taking off in an adventure together, me and him. We didn't really know where it was going to go or what we were going to do, but like anything he did, he put 100% of himself into it, and I did the same. And I think that was contagious, and it got a lot of people on board and a lot of kids that inspired to go do big things like we've seen over the years.
What was it about pole vaulting, and what did that tell you about yourself, Brian, when you really discovered that you had an aptitude that, 99.9th percentile in what you were able to do? What did that kind of reveal about yourself in mastering something that was so hard?
Yeah, I think that was partly what made me fall in love with it. Was that it was something so challenging. It was something that not everybody does. And so I think it says maybe a little more that I like to push myself in directions that other people maybe not see possible. And so like I said, that's one event that a lot of people think is just incredibly difficult, and it is incredibly difficult. It takes a long time to kind of develop the skills to do it. And I think that was just something that I felt like a challenge that I wanted to take on. And most people don't realize this, but I'm not even the prototypical size of a pole vaulter. Being a 5'4" athlete, most of the guys I competed with when I was at the University of Missouri were in the 6 foot range, and so there's just another obstacle that was overcoming, and I saw that as an opportunity.
I always wanted to ask you this, and I did in high school because it never felt appropriate to ask you, but did you ever scare yourself? Was there ever a moment in the pole vault where you went, man, why am I doing this? Because, I'd watch bend your body in half going from the top of that pole, and you can't help but think worst case scenario at some point. Did you ever really scare yourself?
I don't know if I ever really scared myself. I know I scared other people a few times. But like I think part of it was the time that I put into that sport, the amount of experience that I had with it. They made me very comfortable around what I was doing. There is a sense of there's a risk taking aspect to it, but I would argue there's a risk taking aspect to every sport, and that's what makes great athletes great athletes is the risk taking piece. But I think I don't know if there was necessarily a time that I ever scared myself. I know one instance, there was a summer vault competition in St. Louis. I think it was over the 4th of July, and I broke a pole. And actually the pole came back and broke over the back of my head, and I ended up having to get it all stitched up and everything like that. I think that spooked my family just a little bit. But I was joking, but not really, that I really wanted to keep vaulting that day. And I wanted to know if we could go to the doctor, get stitched up, and come back and vault. But they told me I need to take the day off.
Let's talk a little bit about the Missoula, see, because it is, substantial, and you're right there in Columbia, which I think gives you some cachet, especially with your pole vaulters. But you were the first All-American pole vaulter in half a century at Mizzou, which is going to be a unique piece of real estate historically that you will occupy for a long, long time. Do you find that your experiences, your reputation kind of makes you a guru and kind of helps you reach and connect kids who maybe have some doubt when they first come into this, or, chance that they get to work with an All-American is pretty rare?
Yeah, so it's funny you said. So I when I first started, there were some kids that knew me or had heard about me when I got at Battle High School, or when I was working with kids outside of Battle. But it's funny, the kids, they have no idea who I am most of the time. When I'm helping them out, they have no idea my background. Every now and then they'll stumble into the Hearn Center and see a poster with me on it, and like, hey, you're in the Hearn Center, and then I tell them about it. But I think they recognize pretty quickly that I've got some expertise, but I think more than anything, they recognize my passion, and I think that's the piece that pulls them in.
I think it's really cool. I think we're all the sum total of our influences, but beyond just being, a track coach, you're a teacher and you're a father and you're a husband. And, you touched on a little bit about Dennis, but just having that role model in your life had to have paved the way for you and all of those other incredibly important avenues in your life. And somebody who was universally respected before his passing, I thought, like almost 5 years ago now in Monroe City. How much of that do you carry as well, Brian? Just to have had that wonderful example of a dad and a father and a teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's my North Star, essentially, in everything I do in life. Everything I'm asking myself is, what would Dad do in this situation? And I think the legacy that he left for me was that whatever you do, pass it on to the next generation. That was the thing he always told me. So he always pushed me when I was vaulting to go spend time with the younger athletes and help them. Make sure you tell people thank you, the people that are helping you along the way, because it's never just you. There's always going to be people that are going to support you and help you. And so I think that piece has really instilled itself in my life. And then, like I said, every decision, I'm constantly thinking, what's Dad going to do in this situation? And I think that's been probably the piece that's made me most successful in life, I feel.
Nobody goes into teaching to get rich, obviously. You want to do it because you want to have an influence on kids. You're on the front lines every day. I mean, obviously, that's a passion project less than it is a vocation. How much fun for you to just, whether it's vaulting or, get somebody through in a math class that maybe they're struggling with, how much of that to you is a rush still to stay like almost your own success?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Actually, like 30 minutes before we started this, I just told my wife, man, I really miss being in the classroom. I've been out for about 3 months now, and I was thinking, I really want to get back in there. And I think I really just enjoy interacting with the kids and building those relationships, because you can really see that you're on the front lines of changing someone's life, because they're in such a moldable stage in that point in life, and like you could shape them and help them and change the direction that they see themselves. And I just, there's so much passion in that. And like I said, I teach math. A lot of people kind of like shrug, like I cringe a little bit when I say that, but I view it as an opportunity. That I get to teach kids how to like something that most people don't, and I think I teach it in a way that that makes them enjoy it. I heard I don't know if you know Tony Holler. I follow him on Twitter quite a bit. He's a track coach. I'm from Illinois, and he uses the phrase that teach as though your classroom is optional. And that's kind of embraced that throughout my teaching career. And I think the kids have really enjoyed that, and I've really enjoyed just that piece of that.
Brian, from a standpoint of, and when we've done this, we've come back and forth to this. I mean, you are where you come from, a lot of degree, and you carry Monroe City with you to this day. And that's a pretty proud thing, because we've had a couple of different Monroe City grads and alums come through and do this project with us. Just the community, the way it is, the way it took pride in you, how important was that in you and giving you the confidence to chase down whatever it is you wanted in life, whether it was All-American status at the college level in pole vaulting or becoming a teacher and a really good father and husband?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is when I think back on growing up in Monroe City and having big dreams, there was never anybody that really told me that that wasn't achievable. And I think that was something that that community and like just had about it, is that if you work hard at something, you're going to figure it out. You're going to become good at it, and you can develop and go where you want with it. And I had people constantly telling me, "Oh, we're ready to see you in the Olympics." That's what people would always say. And granted, that's a monumental goal, but just that confidence that they had in me, I think, carried me throughout.
Last one for you, and we're giving everybody this chance. I know, obviously, anybody else you want to shout out along the way in Monroe City who really kind of stepped up and he had an influence, a teacher, a mentor, and, we've covered, obviously, the most obvious ones. Is there anybody else that kind of comes to mind instantly when you look back and think, man, I owe it, especially now as a teacher, I owe a debt of gratitude to this person for helping get where I am?
Yeah, so there's a gentleman named Arnold Burdett that kind of got me started in the sport. He was the one that he was a good friend of my dad's, and he kind of talked me into giving it a try. He was a big influence. My uncle Dennis, he was a big part of us getting the barn project going. That most people have heard about, the pole vaulting in the barn north of Monroe City. So he was a huge influence, and he followed me around throughout my career and kind of helped me find ways to keep training. And I had several teachers that were big influences on me. Mike Krager, everybody knows Mike. He was one of my favorite teachers. I was inspired to be a teacher like him, because he was so good at just connecting with people and making them feel confident in what they were doing. And then Debbie Quinn was a math teacher that I had, and she was kind of the one that inspired me to get into mathematics as well. So I mean, like I said, that's a small fraction of the list of people that have had an influence on me in my hometown, and everybody in that hometown knows that they're a part of my success.